Welcome to Quilting with Mary Beth and Donna. Today we talked to Kourtney Govro of the Quilted Cow Raymore. Had a great conversation with her, lots of technical issues, but we are glad to get it to you. We are back. We've had some technical difficulties this morning, but we are back and we have with us Kourtney Govro of the Quilted Cow Raymore and other stuff, which we'll talk about. How are you doing today, Kourtney?
Oh, I'm great.
You've had your coffee, so you're good, huh?
We did our live already this morning. I've had my coffee and now I'm getting ready. We've got a sew along this afternoon. I got one this evening too. So we got a lot today. Today's busy. And it's the first day of quilt crawl. So,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's right, that's right. And, okay, let's first talk about you. Um, like we were saying earlier, we talked to you at the, Kansas City Regional Quilt Festival, but, the quality was very poor, so we couldn't post it because there was too much other stuff going on.
well, now you get the new haircut. So I
Well,
think this is worth it.
it is, we're very pleased, we're very proud.
Except we're the only 2 that can see it, right? We're the only
Yeah.
2 that can see her haircut.
Yeah, yeah. We just do, um, audio.
Oh, I was all excited because I'm like, wow, I look really good. Dang
Too
it,
funny.
lady.
Okay, we'll take a snapshot.
Yeah, I actually go brush my hair right before this happens, every time 'cause actually, today I was just gonna put on my T-shirt and just keep my pajama pants on or whatever, but I thought, "Oop, if I do that, sure as the world, something will happen,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
whole
Well,
world
and
will see it."
I had to move upstairs because we have new internet, and so I'm not lit at all today, so sorry about that. But you
Yeah.
look fabulous.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Okay, so, tell us about how you, got into quilting.
Sure. So I'm kind of a newer baby quilter. I didn't start quilting when I was a kiddo or anything like that. My mama has quilted my whole life. My grandma's quilted. Everybody quilted, but not me. And my mom would drag me to like antique stores. I went to the Missouri Baptist Children's Festival, Apple Festival is what it used to be called, quilt auction. So I've been around quilts a long time, but I never made one. And in 2020, my youngest, who was a little guy at the time, wanted to learn to sew and make masks and do the things. And so I'm like, sure, we can learn that. And we bought a little, I think it was $100 brother sewing machine off the Amazon. And then I was sewing with him a little bit. My mom was helping us, and then my older brother passed away. Gary. Gary passed away of cancer in that year, and when he passed away, my mom was struggling with just that big transition and everything that goes along with it. And we were in the car, and she was kind of lamenting and having a hard time. And I said, "Why don't you teach me to quilt?" And so we stopped at this
Oh,
antique shop and we bought some quilt blocks. I found some quilt blocks. I said, if we sewed these together, would these make a quilt? And she looked at me like I was an idiot. And she was like, yeah. And so we took them to the lake. We were going to the lake that weekend and we sewed them together and just had a wonderful time. And at the end of it, she goes, well, this needs a border. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And she goes, we should go get a border. There's a little quilt shop I read about in a magazine and it's close by. Would you like to go? I'm like, sure. What's it called? She goes, the Quilted Cow. I'm like, all right. So we go to this quilt shop and, colors everywhere, fabulous everywhere. We found a border. It took us an hour. I was like, why is this taking us an hour? Um, but then we found the border and we got ready to check out at the register. And Emily, who's one of the employees there, she said, you get a free fat quarter if you join our Facebook and you can watch our lives every week. And I'm like, I don't know what a fat quarter is. And I don't know why anybody would watch a Facebook Live about quilting. And she was like, and she was really nice. My mom goes, oh, we want a fat quarter. If I join too, can we get two? And she's like, yes. I'm like, absolutely. Let's go get my husband out of the car. He'll join too. Um, we joined this group and I went home and my mom and I had such a nice time together over it. And then later that week, we got back home and I watched the first Quilted Cow live and I spent $250. And I was like, ah. And I get this stuff in the mail and David's like, what is this? I'm like, I do not know, but I felt like I needed it. in this moment. So in that first year, I made like 86 quilts because I was
Ooh.
obsessive compulsive. Like, I got to learn to do this. And it was so therapeutic because you're cutting up and putting together. And there's so much, symbolism and all that. So that's my story of how I got started. And then eventually I started on TikTok, which is a whole nother story.
So you did okay, so you started on TikTok before, the quilt shop and everything, or was
Oh,
that
yeah.
after?
Oh, yeah. Way before. So I started,
Before that, what were you doing before this? Were you
I owned,
a nurse or you
I owned a software company.
Oh, of
I
course you
must
did.
forget. I owned a software company and we did predictive models on whether the patient would be unsafe, unhappy, or cause a whole lot of work. Um, because
Oh,
that's
cool.
one thing.
It's perfect. Okay, so tell us, keep telling your story.
Oh, you want me to tell you about TikTok? So TikTok was funny. My kids had TikTok, so I started quilting in that fall, and it was probably August, September. And my kids had at the same time showed me TikTok. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever watched. Who would watch this? And I was joking around with my husband because I had maybe like 50 people watched me and I would make all these mistakes. And people would, and what you do on TikTok, what's kind of unique is it's very communal. So it's very community. It's not like like I post a lot of tutorials now, but when I first started, it was like, hey, how do you sew a half square triangle? And I would kind of post what I read and then somebody would answer and I'd learn to do it. And so I started doing that. So I had probably 50 people that followed me. And then one day, my husband said, if you could get to, I think he said 700, it was some funny number because I wanted the Aliso iron that was like $200. And he goes, no, that's ridiculous. And so he goes, if you get to 700 followers, and so I basically made a video with a green screen in the back and a picture of the Aliso iron. And I said, just in this same tone, my husband said, if I can get to 700 followers, and I leaned to the side so that they could see the iron, if I could get to 700 followers, he'll let me get this iron. Can you help me out? And some of the biggest TikTokers in quilting duetted my video. And I had 12 or 1,500 people within 24 hours. And
Wow.
so from there, it kind of went nuts. So there it went kind of nuts. So from there, I got the iron. And then I started sewing on TikTok. So that was like October. By January, I had like 10,000 followers. And so then it kind of snowballed from there. I became an ambassador for Sewing Parts Online. I did a lot of things. And I think I have 48,000 followers now on TikTok. um, but I found that I have changed the way I interact with that social media a little bit. So I use it more like an editing software a little bit now, but it's still fun. I have enjoyed the social media aspects of life because you don't have to go somewhere. You can just look and find out how to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you fit into our class, but we were saying, earlier that you're very motivated by community, which I just stay home. So so tell us about how the Quilted Cow Raymore came about.
Sure. So I had grown my social media presence and I got approached by or the Big Cow, which is what we call them. The Big Cow had an ambassador sign up opportunity. So you had to like submit. So I made a PowerPoint and I did all these things and I submitted it in and I got to be an ambassador for them, which basically meant they sent me free stuff and I sewed it on my TikTok. And which was great for me because I was like, I like free stuff. And so then fast forward to probably 6 months in, Jennifer and I had started talking, and I basically said, "If you ever wanted to franchise this, I'd totally do it." And Jennifer's like, "That's a great idea." And less than 30 days later, we had a contract put together. Less than 30 days after that, so 60 days later, I bought a building. And then 30 days after I bought the building, we had all the inventory ordered. And then in the next 45 days, they remodeled that entire building, which was like it's small. It's only 2,000 square foot total. And then we launched October 23rd, which is my husband's birthday. So for his 50th birthday, he got a quilt shop. Um, and I'll just tell you, if
Really?
you ever want to be a millionaire,
Love it.
go open a quilt shop. It's not that kind of business. But we went into it with a very specific intention because we wanted to open something in the community where we could have connection, where we could encourage and build up, where we could help people find a way to be very generous within the community. So one of our mottos is be obscenely, obnoxiously generous, to be kind and caring and compassionate, to encourage one another and build each other up. And for us, for me and David, it's about sharing Jesus, but we don't make that the core because we know not everybody believes that. And we just want them to have the opportunity to have community. And so we thought when we opened, David says this so beautifully every time we talk about the quilt shop. We thought when we opened it, it was about us helping them. But what we found, which was amazing, was they all adopted us. So I have like what seven, I don't even know how many followers we have on the Facebook group page, but it's like having 8,500 grandmas. And the balance of that is crazy aunts. It's their community. This is their family. And so if you get on our Facebook page, first post of the morning every single day is Mary of Pastor Joe and Mary. She posts a good morning. And I always respond to Mary with a good morning right back. And we recently got to meet, she's from Michigan. We recently got to meet and it was fantastic. It was like meeting your long lost sibling. And I was overjoyed to meet Mary.
Okay, we are back. We've had some technical difficulties, and I'm still having a few, so hopefully we can get through this. But we have Kourtney Govro with us and Mary Beth. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi.
And we are meeting again on a Friday afternoon. And Kourtney, tell us about the how the barn started.
Well, when we opened the shop, we had a postage stamp size classroom. And so you could really cram about 6 people in there, but it really was not comfortable. And I really wanted to have some type of community space because that's what we're about is, bringing people together, making friends, serving the community, and having a really great space to do that in. And we literally found 2 different places. The first place we signed a lease on, and the neighbor thought we'd be too loud. And so they canceled our lease. And then we found another space and I was like, this is the space. This is great. It's kind of kitty corner across the highway, here in Raymore, the big highway on the road. And I thought, this is the space. This is the space. And it all fell through. We couldn't get the lease worked out with the people. And I was like, this is so sad. Well, then the neighbors that own the building next to us called us and they said, because we tried to buy that building a few times and they just weren't interested in selling yet. And they said, "Hey, we really don't want the space to be vacant. Would you like to rent it?" And they made us a great deal, except we had to do all the work. So 40,000 plus dollars later, we were able to get that barn opened, and the barn has just been a godsend for us. I mean, we can seat 40 people at a 6 foot table each in that barn and they can have it's a great retreat space. So we do our own retreats. We do like 2 a quarter. Plus we do a Quilters Club retreat every third month. And so we have been using it and really loving it. We had Lee Summit Guild came out and used it for a day, and that was fantastic. When people come to our retreats, we cater in the food. With Judy's Barbecue does all our food. It's always delicious. I'm big on food. And we just kinda have a lot of fun. So, actually, we've got a retreat going on right now, and I'm gonna head over there after this, and we're gonna show them, a new release of fabric that's not been seen before on the show or anywhere else, so they'll kinda get first dibs, and we do all sorts of fun things for them. But it's been a dream come true for us.
Is this a regularly scheduled retreat, or do you just have them when you wanna have them?
We try to do one. So every quarter we do 2 sewing retreats and 1 Quilters Club retreat. So a sewing retreat's like what's going on right now. It's a Friday, Saturday. They bring their stuff, their projects, their fun, and they sew for 2 days. And they can come back and forth in shops. They get a bunch of coupons and a bunch of fun and swag. And then Quilters Club is every third month. So Quilters Club is our long armors, and so we have a whole community of Quilters Club, about 128 members or so, and they come and get education and training and hang out together, and we spoil them for a day, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And how late do they sew at night?
We originally the first retreat, I was like, we'll let them go till 10, and really at about 9 o'clock, there was 3 people left, and those 3 people were going to hang on till 10. And we just decided it's because it gets dark and it's so easy here. They sew all day. We close down at 9 now. We say, hey, get yourself out by 9, which is easier on me because I'm in bed by 9 or 9:30. Because I got to be at the show I got to be here at the shop at 7. So we go till 9 on Friday nights.
Well, that sounds like lots of fun. And you know what? You don't need to sew that late because, we're getting a little older and it's a little harder to do that.
Mistakes.
I
So
am.
it's funny, and a lot of times people don't mind, they really hardcore sew during the day, so and we just have a good time. It's just kind of a day-long 2-day-long party, and, I pop back and forth all day long, and I walk in the door, and my line when I walk into the door is, "Hello, Courtney's little sweatshop," and we kinda have a lot of fun and laugh, and, really the community's great, though, over there. I've been enjoying going back and forth today.
That's fun. Um, okay, so I know that you are very involved with, Project Linus. How did you and Patty get hooked up?
So, Patty stalked me. I just was on a digital guild, and Patty and I were talking about the experience last night. The first week I opened, um, Patty came to visit the shop, like, the very first day, and if you were in Raymore the first day we opened, we crammed 1,000 people through this store in 1 week. Literally, I had 1,000 tickets on my till to look at, and so we really just pushed a lot of people through the door, so I have no recollection of meeting Patty Gregory, that week, and about I would say she kept popping by, and then in January, we had the big freeze. I don't remember that first year we were open, that freeze happened in January. It was like the whole town shut down. And I had texted their office and I said, "Hey, I have a quilt. I want to call it a Project Linus quilt. We're going to do it for cheap and let people buy it and make it for Linus. Would that be okay if I said that?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." And, we sold out of that quilt, and for us, that was 20 at the time. We had 20 quilts, and I had never believed I would sell 20 of anything. And so I was like, "Okay, we sold out of this quilt." Well, the next month, I called 'em, I'm like, "Do you mind if we do another quilt?" And Patty had started popping by, and she's like, "I'll make it." And I'm like, "Great." And so we got to talking, and I actually invited her to church. I was like, "Hey, we're going to this new church. You want to go?" And our husbands hit it off, and we just became fast friends. And now we're really, really close. So that's how I got connected to Linus. But it has just grown into this passionate monster, I would say, for our quilters, our sewers, because every month we do the Linus quilt. And we have our Quilters Army quilting the quilts. We collect the tops. They don't have to be quilted, which is kind of unique. Most quilt shops won't do that. But we take them in and we've gone through we did about 2,800 last year. We're planning to do 3,000 plus this year. We're over
Wow.
2,000 right now. So we're plugging away at it, and I just love Linus. I love that we can give some kid that's gone through the worst moment in their life a hug. I don't even have to see him, but I can give him a hug, and they know the community cares. So that's what I love. I just love Linus.
That's wonderful. And is she the state director or is she just a regional director?
Patty's the president of all Project Linus, so
Of the
she's the
whole
big
thing?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, she's the big boss. So,
Okay, okay.
when you meet her, I will say she's the CEO of a pretty large nonprofit, but if you meet her, you'd never know. Like, she doesn't come across as, a high-powered CEO or, anything like that. She's so personable, which makes it work for Linus. So, most people, they don't even know until because she doesn't introduce herself that way either, which I
Right,
kind
right.
of funny. I'd be like, "I'm the president of I'm the CEO, I'm the big boss.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you what to do.
I'm in charge here."
Uh,
You also, you mentioned, on one of your shows, the Missouri Baptist Children's Home.
Yeah.
You all yeah, so, just a little bit of background for me. When I was wanting to learn to quilt, um, I was working at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church in up by Liberty, yeah, and,
When were you there?
um, just probably, what, 20 years ago, probably.
I was
Yeah.
there.
Where you were?
I was, but I think 20 years ago, I would have been a Venable.
Oh. Okay.
So, like,
I
I
know
would
that
be
name.
uh,
Um,
as my family's I went
yeah,
there, I grew up there.
yeah, so Benny was my boss, and
No
Paul
way.
and Paulo. You remember
Oh my
Paulo?
word.
Yeah. So they were my bosses. So I started off part-time secretary for Benny, and then
Uh-huh.
Paulo was brought on board, so then I became Paulo's secretary over, technology and drama.
Oh my gosh. So I would have been in youth choir when you were with Benny, because Benny
Ah,
Paolo came after me.
yeah,
Uh, I had gone
okay.
on to college when Paolo came.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
cool.
so anyway,
I
sorry.
love that. Well, so we started a quilt group. I kinda got it started at the church, and I'm sure it fizzled out, but, or maybe
Uh-uh.
not, I don't know,
Nope.
but we started a group and was teaching, people. We took one quilt and taught us how to cut it out, how to put it together, how to press, how to do everything. And then we donated it to the Missouri Baptist Children's Home, which
Oh,
then I
fun.
think it was the Strawberry Festival or something, so
It would have been Apple back then.
oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
strawberries in St. Louis, the
Oh,
berry is in Springfield, and
yeah.
we were the Apple, but then the Apple went away and it just became the Missouri.
Okay, so in Springfield, Macedonia Baptist Church is
Uh-huh.
where that was my church I grew up in, so woo-hoo.
Oh, how fun is that? So I
Yeah,
got involved with the Missouri Baptist Children's Home, the Apple Festival. My mama used to take me when I was a kid,
yeah,
and I can remember going through. They put it out at the children's home back in the day,
yeah,
and I can remember going through the fields, with the quilts. And my mom would always bid and win a quilt, and it was a big deal to her. And there was a quilter, I can't think of her name, but my mom liked to buy her quilts every year, and so we have tons of them. So that's a memory. And then when I got connected, when I started to open a quilt shop, I don't remember who reached out to me about it, but I got connected to the children's home about it, and they asked me to come out and do a booth that year. It was up in Platte City or something. And we just kinda got connected and hit it off. The hardest thing about the hardest thing about the quilt festival is we have an expectation of what our quilt is worth because
right.
of what we spent on it and those kind of things. And you have to let that go because you have given it away and donated it, and that's a pride issue. And so it's really difficult in
Yeah,
an auction, especially now. I think the quilts, people like them, but the people that are buying the quilts are the people making the quilts. And
yeah,
so we've changed it up this year. It's actually really cool what we're doing. We're doing these regional qualifiers because what usually happens is we get 5 million quilts sent into one location. And I had no clue that this is how it worked back in the day. But basically, people would send quilts from all over, and then they'd have all these quilts, like hundreds, literally hundreds.
yeah,
The 2 years we did it, I was like, oh my, and you have quilts of every quality, every type, every size. We got new ones, we got old ones. I was at the quilt festival and this one lady and my cousin had bought a quilt, and this lady comes up and she goes, I have bought that quilt 3 times at the quilt festival before because they'd redonate it. And I'm like, holy moly. So so I was like,
that's crazy.
it was crazy. She goes, "Oh, it hung in my house every year." I'm like, "That's not how that's supposed to work." Anyway,
Yeah,
so we really looked at it and I said, "How can we make this more about the children's home and less about the quilt?" Not
right.
that I don't love the quilt because I clearly love quilts.
Mhm.
Um, but I said, "How do we make this till we get the word out to more people?" Because we're not getting the word out to people that
Right,
don't know the children's home. And so
right.
what we came up with was a qualifier event. And so now we have regional qualifiers. And all over our region, different churches and groups hosted these qualifiers where they'll get maybe a dozen quilts or maybe 6 quilts, and they'll take those quilts and then they'll have a silent auction. Well, at the silent auction, the children's home gets to speak and tell these people about their quilts, tell these people about the kids and what they do. Because it's not a children's home anymore. It's a foster enablement group. I mean, they help foster families.
Yeah,
They deal with all the trafficking issues. They deal with all sorts of stuff. And so I've really been pleased. It's the first year we've tried it. There was a little, there's always a little consternation when you change, but I really think that it's allowed people, like if I went to my church and Betty Sue, who I've known for 20 years, donated a quilt and I had the opportunity to buy it, I go buy it
Right.
I don't want to travel to Kansas City if I live in north of St. Joe. I want to go someplace there and buy from somebody I know. So then the top two or three, they vote on them there. The top two or three, not the top two or three dollar makers, the top two or three, those go to the final auction, which will be here at the barn on the 27th of September.
Oh,
And we will have a display of all the winning quilts from every single qualifier and a story about all the makers, all the things. And then we're going to do a live auction, but we're going to do it both in person and online. So you can come out and watch it, or you can watch us on the Facebook as well. And we'll go live on the Facebook channels.
and
So
what time does that start?
I don't know.
Oh, great.
I think it's probably 6 or 7. But I'll have to look at the flyer.
In the evening.
Yes.
In the morning. Yeah, in the evening. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
And
Saturday.
and what
Okay.
is the Facebook page?
The Missouri Quilt Festival, I think, is the Facebook page, Missouri Quilt Festival.
Is there a website associated with it too, or just that?
I think it's MissouriQuiltFestival.com, but
Okay.
if you go on that Facebook page, you can find it.
Okay, cool. Cool. And are you the head honcho of that, or are you just
Well,
a good suggester?
I might have got volunteered into it. I didn't realize it until Ben sent me the magazine and it was like Courtney's the chair. I was like, Ben. Ben's our coordinating guy for the region. So, but
That's
you
funny.
never seen my mama so pleased as punch and so
I
proud,
bet. I bet.
because that's a big deal to her. The the Missouri Baptist Children's Home and then the Baptist homes are a big deal to my mama. So
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. It's a wonderful project, and it helps the whole state. It's wonderful.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend that was an administrator of the Missouri Baptist Children's Home in Mount Vernon.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he would just, he'd tell us stories about things. And it's heartbreaking, but, I mean, it's a good thing that they have that. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
It's all about hope, though. I mean, when you
yeah,
think of like Project Linus, you think of the Missouri Baptist Children's Home, you think of all these different things. It's really about hope. If you can tie, like we say, we tie creativity to hope in our Partners in Hope thing. But if you think about the bad so much,
right.
I think it was Mr. Rogers actually that said, look for the helpers. When there's
Yeah,
something, look for the helpers. And
yeah,
for us, I want our people to say, we want to be the helpers, be the helper. Be the person that says, I don't want to fuss about this and fuss about
right.
the world falling apart. I'm going to do something that matters. And so it takes your brain out of this spiral of negativity, which if
Hmm.
you watch the news, it's all negativity, all spiraling all the time. It's all stressful. But if you do something with your hands and your heart and your mind, you can really transition yourself from being in this spiral of hopelessness into this, beacon of hope for the little community. So
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
it is a great thing. So,
And
um,
along the same lines, you have a podcast also, the quilt what is it? The Giving Stitch podcast. Tell us about that.
So the Giving Stitch, Patty jokes that Courtney just decides to do things and we just kind of do it. We had no plan. And actually, if you see the first podcast episode, all you'll see is the top of our heads because the way I recorded it and I scratched my leg. And so that's become a joke on the podcast is whenever I'm actually scratching my leg while I'm talking to you guys.
that's why we're not singing.
So I thought I'd like to get the word out more about Project Linus. I'd like to get the word more out about how do we connect creativity to hope. I'd like to talk to people and figure out, what's their giving stitch, what's their ability to do that. And so anyway, we have loved doing the giving stitch. And so it's me and Patty getting it together and chatting most of the time. I recently interviewed Jennifer Long. She's a designer for Riley Blake. She is a dream. She's fantastic. And Patty is interviewing some of the nonprofit people she knows. We've decided some of the interviews we'll do one-on-one because it's hard to coordinate.
Right.
She is the president of everything. So, and then we just interviewed and she interviewed us, Joyful and Mary. So Mary from Joyful and Mary Quilting. So, because she's the VP of Project Linus. So it's just been a fun conversation and we're finding ways that we can remind people that Project Linus is there, remind people there's ways to do good. And we do it kind of the way that we talk with one another, which usually involves laughing a lot and just me, I squirrel, so it's a fun little podcast.
Mhm.
It is fun. Now you are very, very active. Have you always been this way, or is this uh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Meal,
I have in my notes, what is your secret? Like something in your coffee,
oh, because I get a lot done?
Yeah,
and
you
you're active. Yes, you're so
yes.
active and full of it. Like,
Uh, I am full of it. Um, I've always been this way. I've always had a bunch of plates spinning. But my dad, when I was a kid, one of the things my dad, he said, Bobo, which was my nickname, Bobo, you can do a whole lot of things halfway or a few things really good. And he goes, you need to figure out what kind of person you are. And I kind of, in some ways, I thought that helps me because it does help me say, I can't take that on. I can't take that on. But in other ways, I just want to prove him wrong. And so that makes me kind of driven. But he is correct that you can, like, I have started turning some things down. Um, but I do have a hard time. I do have a hard time saying no. And I have a really hard time if I come up with something walking away from it. So I do have some new techniques that I use to filter an idea. So I normally I pray about it, of course, but I ask my husband, and David is the king of no. So he is the king of no. He's like, no, we're not doing that. You know, I mean, he got a quilt shop for his birthday, so
woohoo!
50th year. Some people get silver. Um, but I don't stop very much, and if I get frustrated about something or I need to figure out how it works, I can't usually stop. I'm a little obsessive compulsive. So I'm not sure what the best answer for that is. I used to stay up late, but I found getting up early actually gets a lot more done than staying up late.
So you don't ever just crash because 'cause you've done too much, or are you pretty able
Yeah.
to maintain?
Usually about once a quarter I crash. Um, One day. I'll take a day where I'm just like, "I'm done." And Tuesdays are sacred to us. That's my day off, and it is a great day to have off. It's so much better than a Saturday because you can get a lot more done. So and then Sundays are sacred to us. That's our time to be with one another, to go to church, to rest. I legitimately rest. I go and take a nap. But no, I mean, I may crash once a quarter and have just a rest. But other than that, no. And I mean, I go to bed at 9:30, 10. I don't stay up too late.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm just curious because
Yeah.
sometimes there's a persona and it either can't last or it doesn't last. But you do so much and I just wondered how you take care of yourself, which you sounds like you've got your plan, which is great. Um,
Yeah. I've
and
always been this way though. I think there are people that are just kind of wired a certain way.
right.
One of my master's theses was on CEOs and CEO personalities and I think there's a lot of people that just can't stop. But I do have David, and David manages me really well. Like he's like, and if he says no, some people kind of make fun of like, oh, my husband says no. My husband says no, I listen because he's like, you have to stop. Okay, it's time to take a break. Okay, turn off the phone, turn off the computer. It's time to take a break. And I trust him very much in that judgment. I have that I have a great husband in a relationship in that way.
And do you have kids?
We do. We have four, and I have a grandbaby.
Oh, wow.
Um, Lily June is the love of my life. She calls me Mama, and she says it like this. She's the little tiny blonde thing. She's adorable. And she goes, Mama. And she calls David Ba. Mama, Ba, Ba. She's in charge. Like when she comes to our house, she's the boss. I follow that kid around. Um, so I have four boys. My oldest is Jacob. He's married to Lexi, and they have my Lily June. I have Tucker's worked at the shop some, so a lot of the people know who Tucker is. Everybody loves Tucker. He's sweet and smiley and friendly and super cute.
And can hold lots of bolts at one time and put them
He
on a
can
shelf. Yes.
he's like 6'5". He's a big guy. And then there's Ethan, and not very many people have met Ethan. Super smart, computer nerdy kind of kid, super quiet, very private. And then there's Noah, and Noah's our youngest. And Noah is 16. He is a junior. He's cute as cute can be. I'm in big troubles, except he's got a girlfriend, so I'm happy. But he works here in the shop, but a lot of times he's working in the back because he's not that warm. You put Tucker at the register, people are probably going to buy $20 more worth of stuff. You put Noah at the register and they might leave without paying. So he's so cute, so sweet. He's very genuine, but he would probably prefer not to interact with the masses.
Right. Oh, I get that totally.
Yeah,
And,
she gets that.
I
you
might
know,
be a Noah.
his mama is a, public personality, and Noah's not into that. So that's not Noah's thing. So
Yeah.
I'm very careful with Noah.
Oh, that's fun. Wow. You are amazing. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks.
So about classes, I know you guys do classes because you just did one. You did one on shoes, how to make those. Those were fun. But I have such big feet, I didn't want to come to the class. Anyway, besides that, so are your classes listed online or do you just announce them on your shows each morning? How's that go?
Oh my. Well, I put them on the website. So we do have a website, thequiltedcowraymore.com, and there is classes. I am in charge of that sometimes.
Uh,
So I sometimes run ahead of the website, which the whole team, if they were sitting here, they'd be all nodding. They're like, yeah, she forgets 3 or 4 steps before she gets done. So it's kind of in both places. What we do is I now put it in the weekly email to what's going on and what's coming up, so people can kind of see that, just in case the online's messed up in some way, shape, or form. What I do love about quilters is we have a lot of very detailed people. You got like these 2 personality types in quilters. You've got the crazy people like me that are like not quite organized and have 50 things going at once. And then you've got the very, very detail oriented people that are like, I need to make sure my seams match or my points match. And the people like that are over here, they're like, Kourtney, your website's not right. I'm like, oh, thanks. Or Kourtney, your post is wrong. This is this. And I
um,
get the feedback and I fix it. And, so it is on our website.
okay,
It is always announced in the Facebook, and then it is also in the email. So I'm much better about managing that group page. So if you want to know more about us, you be in the group page because I always forget the other page.
okay,
'Cause originally we weren't going to have those, and then that changed, and so now we have
yeah,
those. So
Cool.
okay. And then about the Quilters Club,
yeah.
is it any long arm brand of long arm people can come, or does it need to be your brand or whatever it is that you use? Sorry.
So Quilters Club is $200 a year, and Thursday nights is our Quilters Club meeting, and then 4 times a year they have a retreat. So that $200 pays for all of that. Plus they get discounts all year long,
Cool.
on different things like thread, batting, 108s. Those are all 25% off. No, wait, thread, 108s, and Grace accessories are 25% off, and then batting's 35% off. So they get discounts, which is always fun. Everybody likes a discount. Um, so it's primarily for the people that have the Grace product, so the Grace
Okay.
Company product. However, Nolting and APQS both use a private label version of our software. So we have a lot of APQS people that'll come join us. We have some Nolting people that'll come join us. The general stuff about quilting, there are some people that are like, well, I have a different kind of long arm. Can I join? And I'm like, absolutely, you can come join. And they kind of realize that other than just basic quilting information, the software doesn't help them at all. Now, the cool thing is our next retreat, if you're a Grace person, everybody knows who Janet George is. She's a big name in the Grace community. She's their ambassador. She does all the teaching on QCT6, which is our software. She's coming to our next retreat.
Mhm.
So she is a fantastic lady. We've become friends on the online. And she's super cute. We have very like-minded on a lot of things. So she's going to come out and teach the next Quilters Club retreat. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, so then my last burning question that I have, what is the age group of the freshman class of the old people?
Oh, it is the upper 40s to early 50s. That is the
Okay.
class of the old people. So I just entered the freshman class of the old people. I'm 46. So I think I'm 46. I'd have to ask David. Um, but it's 40. I will say, if you want to be a person that gets a lot of things done, you just learn that there's information pieces that you don't need to keep present in your brain because the
Yes,
brain has to move at a pace. So
right?
birthdays, my age, my anniversary, I have no idea what day that is. Um, those kind of things go away and everything else is present of mind, and it
Right.
lets you move faster. And also make minimum choices when you're getting dressed in the morning. So when I ran my software company, I always wore a cardigan and a shell. That's all I wore. I had some black pants, always black pants, a cardigan and a shell. And I never had to make a decision. It was fantastic. Now I wear a quilt shirt and some jeans. So
See, isn't that wonderful? That's the Steve Jobs,
yeah,
idea of yeah, I'm totally that person, I too.
it's logical, and I will say I ran that company for a long time, and as soon as I got that trick because you have to go to all these meetings. When I ran the software company, I had to think about, like, going to a meeting and looking nice and all those things, and that just wasn't high on my list of things to do. I mean, I needed to solve a problem for a hospital that, if I screwed up, somebody would die. You wanted to make sure that you were focused on that. I didn't wanna think about what color my shoes were. And so I always wore the same color shoes. I had black shoes. And then I had some Rothy's, so I had a few little pairs I'd mix in, but I just, there's things you don't need to think about in life.
That's right.
I think I forgot
Wonderful.
what your question was.
Oh, I was just asking about the freshman class in the 8th
Oh,
grade.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was just trying to figure out where I fit in. So I'm probably
You're
in,
old, Mary Beth.
I know, I'm in the senior class.
You can no, you get to pick what you are.
Oh,
The fun thing
okay.
in classes.
Okay.
It's interesting to to think about, well, for me now, 'cause I started sewing or quilting in 1998, so that's a few years ago, and, I was a youngster back then, and I never had the perception of being young in the group, which is interesting, so, yeah, now I'm the old person in the group, but
They don't treat I don't think that most people realize what age I am when I'm doing stuff because I don't even it doesn't phase me when I'm working with them that they're older, I'm younger, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
There is a noticeable difference when you get this kind of new generation of quilters coming in. There's a noticeable difference on how they learn and act and things like that. And we've got some younger ones because of the Joann's closing, honestly, in our area. We've got some younger people that come in. Now they're shocked and appalled at the price of fabric, which is always a learning opportunity, is what I've told the staff. I'm like, don't be offended. It's a learning opportunity. So there's some things like that. But they approach it differently. But I will say I have noticed some incredible just I don't wanna call it grandmaing, but just where people come around some of the younger quilters in our shop, and we make it clear, like, we're super kid friendly in our shop, and if you don't like that, then we're probably not your shop, and that's
right,
okay.
yeah.
There's other shops in the area that may be your shop, but we're gonna let the kids be in here because I know someday they're gonna need to learn to do something like this. So but I do think our older quilters, at least the ones that shop here, they're all about helping. We had a young lady oh my gosh, I have to tell you a story. We had this young lady come in the other day, and she walks and she'd been walking around the store, and I kept asking her, I'm like, "You need some help? You need some help?" And she's like, "No, I'm good, I'm good." And finally, I came over and I'm like, "Can I help you find something?" And so you've been here she'd been there for like an hour. And I was like, "Are you sure I can't help you?" And she goes, "I came in when my aunt came on a bus trip here." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "I've decided today is the day I'm going to start quilting."
Yay.
And I said, "Fantastic." I said, "Have you ever sewed before?" She said, "No, I have not." And I said, "Absolutely wonderful. So let's talk about that." So luckily the shop was dead. and which doesn't happen very much for us, but the shop was dead. And I was able to probably spend about an hour shopping with her and walking her through things and talking to her about cutting and helping her pick a rotary cutter and talking to her about that. And I said, and what was fun was I started talking to her, and Carrie McHenry, one of our shoppers, came over and started talking to her, and another shopper came over and talked to her, and they were all kind of joined in helping and talking with her. And they said, "Why don't you come and sew with us? Why don't you do this?" And this is a very young lady, like in her early 20s. And I was like, this is community. This is it. And a few days later, I was working with Bert. She was working Bert works Tuesday nights, which I loved because then we can visit. And this gal comes in, and I knew I recognized her. And she's a little nurse, and she's become friends with Bert just by coming and shopping at the store. And Bert's like, "Why don't you come over to my house and I'll help you with that binding?" And Bert offers that all the time. I'm like, "Bert, you don't know these people. You need to be careful." And Bert's like, "I'm fine." I'm like, Bert's like, "I'm a grown up, Kourtney. You don't have to worry." Um, but I love that. I have noticed it over and over. People will say, and what I say to people, like when people approach each other in the store and they're like, "Well, you can come over and sew sometime." I'm like, "Why don't you come to Stitch and Mingle on Friday? It's an open sew time. It's totally free. You can come sew on a Friday and hang out with us, and we'll have a great time. And you can come sew with us, and then you can get together here." And that's a very easy way for them to get connected and become friends and learn to sew, and it's not like coming over to somebody's house, which can be a little intimidating for some of the
Mhm.
younger generation. So I really just love that about my store. I mean, that's if I told David, I said, let's say that the quilting went away, all the fabric, all something happened, there's no more fabric. I said, I want to open a coffee shop. I want to open something where everybody can still come get together because I could care less whether it's fabric or I don't know something else to sell, but I don't care what we're selling. I just want the people to come and hang out and get hugs and talk. And I do love the opportunities that I get to share Jesus, and I love those kind of things. So there's all sorts of things here that I just the people are fantastic, and I love to watch them become friends and community and get together.
Well, keep the barn for sure.
Yeah, the barn's
Keep
fun.
keep the store though for sure. I haven't got to come in yet. I don't get up there very often. I'm down by Truman Lake. So,
Oh, really?
um, yeah, my mom's in a nursing home in Olathe, so I come up occasionally to see her, but a lot of times she doesn't know who I am, so it's kinda
That's hard.
hard to do that. And every time I go by the exit to Raymore, I'm like, "Oh, I need to go there,"
Right.
but it's always at the wrong time, you know? So,
Yeah. If it's before time, just come knock on the door. I'm probably here. Except between 8 and 9, the show's live, and I won't answer the door. I
okay,
sometimes forget to lock the door, though, and then it's bad, but
Funny.
okay.
You're funny. Well, this has been such a treat. I admire you very much, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk again
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
me too.
third time. And we wish you all success. And if there's any, we'd like to be your friends too. So if there's
I wanna
anything
be
we
your
can,
friend.
if there's anything we can do for you, let us know, and we will be there for you.
yep.
Oh, thanks. Come visit anytime. Big hugs. Thanks so much.
Okay, you too, and have fun at your retreat tonight.
Alright, we'll see you.
Okay,
See
bye
ya.
bye.
Bye.
We appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and we're sorry for the technical issues. Maybe next time it'll be better. Have a great week.